I can remember, I mean, there's different stories. I've had so many in my life where I feel like I've had interactions with God. You know, if you want to call them supernatural, if you want to call them whatever, spiritual, because I do believe there's a spiritual world that's all around us. I also believe there's good spirits and there's evil spirits. And the good spirits, I would believe more not spirits per se, but just angels and whatnot, that kind of thing, and interactions. But really, there's God, there's good, and then there's evil. And I can remember when I was a young teenager, there's a few experiences early on that weren't really dramatic, but there was something pulling on me that was showing me that I wasn't living a life that was good, and it was leading me into more I don't know if you call it anxiety or whatnot, but I can remember as being a teenager in high school, coming home from high school and just not being in the proper frame of mind, if you want to put it that way, and going to bed and just crying out to God, just please speak to me, show me how I can get out of this life and have some meaning in my life. And it wasn't long after that. I remember sitting in a canyon and with a buddy of mine one afternoon after school. I was 18 years old, and we're sitting in this canyon, and I'm looking, and also probably not in the best frame of mind, and I'm looking in this canyon. A fire had just ripped through it, and not long after that, but it didn't get the whole canyon. But part of it was just totally just taken out. It was black. It was barren. It was, those, when a tree gets burned, what it looks like, it's like a black bone is what it looked like. And there's another area that was a garden-like and lush that had not been burned by the fire. And I really felt this strong presence, and basically telling me, Tom, this is your life right now, and this is where it's heading. And I'm looking at this burned out canyon that had no life in it. As dry as a bone, blackened, and you know what a fire looks, what happens to a landscape when a fire goes through it. Because that's your life. You can choose that, or you can choose over here, which is lush. You could have a great life full of good things, fruit, abundance, enrichment, not necessarily materially, but fulfillment. And I thought, okay, and I knew what it meant. I meant, okay, am I going to follow God, or am I going to follow the world and my own desires that are more and more this trajectory I'm on? I'm going to die. And I remember I went home that day, and I thought, I just felt like I had an encounter with God. And I asked my brother if I can go to church with him, and that led me off into this life where I've had many experiences that I believe cannot be explained, other than the fact that God has intervened many times in my life. You can call it miraculous. You can call it just total intervention. That's from outside of what we would consider the normal world. What we, interact with one another. You and I, Ken, are talking right now. Well, this is something that, to me, could not be explained. And it came from a plea to God. I can share some of them, if you like.
Sure.
Those stories. One was, my wife and I, we had a baby, a daughter, who was born, her name was Emily. And we found out a couple days after she was born, she had a severe heart defect. We wondered why she wasn't eating. Well, we found out that she was gravely ill, that part of her heart wasn't formed, which meant one of two things. Either she's going to have a heart transplant, or she's going to have a procedure called the Norwood procedure, Norwood. And I hadn't heard what that was before, but it was explained to me what it was. And we said, which one was the best? We asked the question, the physicians, the experts, the surgeons, and they're like, we can't tell you. It's totally up to you. Well, so how am I going to know which one's the best way to go? And they said, you're going to have to really just investigate. If it was my kid, I wouldn't know what to do. That's what these multiple surgeons and physicians were telling us. Both were serious. Both were tough. Heart transplant means a life of difficulty, but you can be saved. But we didn't know if she was a candidate for that. And the only way to know if she's a candidate is when you finally open up her chest and you can look at the heart. And that wasn't going to happen until we made a decision. The other one was the Norwood. So I went on a walk, and my wife's, we were staying at a friend's house, which was near this hospital, Loma Linda Medical Center in California, experts in this field. And I went on a walk, and there's been very few times in my life where I felt desperate. And this is one of them, because this was on me and my wife. But I cried out to God like I very few times in my life have. And I said, God, I have no idea what to choose. How can I choose this? Please speak to me. Show me a sign. And I'm crying as I'm walking. And I'm clueless. The doctors don't even know which one's the best. What do I do? I'm a dad. I want my daughter to live. We're desperate. It's like we're in this other world. If you've ever felt like that, where you've been so desperate where everything just seems fake around you and all you're just zoned in on this one thing, this is life and death right now. And that's where I was. And crying out to the Lord and like, oh, show me a sign. And I remember stopping, and I do get choked up because this was unquestionably God. And I remember stopping in the middle of the street, crying for a sign. And I look up, and there's a street sign. It says Norwood on the sign. I was walking on Norwood Street. Well, I was walking down the street, and I stopped at this crossroads, and the crossroads was Norwood in whatever street I was on. I'd never heard of that word. And he showed me a sign. It said Norwood. And then my wife walks out of this house where we're staying, and I said, she was crying. We didn't know what to do. I said, honey, look at this sign. And she looked and she cried. I thought, that's God. We chose Norwood. It turns out they cracked open her chest. She would not have survived with a heart transplant. And this was the absolute right decision. She still died a couple months later. But the surgery was a success. But there were other complications that she had. But we had 2 months with her. And we had a tremendous peace, and we got to know her during that time frame. And I would describe that as an intervention, that God intervened in my life. He heard the cry of someone who was desperate and had no other option. And a lot of times we say, the only thing I can do is pray, which means there's no hope, right? Well, to me, the more I've seen those types of situations, and I've been in them, that is the greatest hope. Because when I've been at the end of my rope and I've had no other way to go except to look up, God has always answered me. And it's just this amazing things that have happened. There was another time I had a similar feeling of desperation where I was in a predicament where I had angered a lot of people. I was a young man. I was probably 20, 21 years old. And I had a situation as a young man. I was dealing with something that I thought only a man who was of greater age than I would know how to handle this. And I didn't know what to do. And I had no one in my life. My parents at that point in my life didn't want to have anything to do with me. My family didn't. My friends. I was the most alone. I was at the most alone place I'd ever been in my life as a 21-year-old guy. And I felt like I didn't have a father. And I was completely clueless on what to do with my situation. So I cried out. And that was really, truly one of those end of my rope moments, that there wasn't an individual that I can accurately point to that I felt cared enough about me, loved me, or would even guide me, step in. And I prayed for some type of father figure. And so as I was crying out on my knees, literally, I get a phone call, and it was a lady who I had not met, who had said, I said, hello. And she said, is this Tom? I said, yes, it is. She goes, Tom, my name is Linda. I work at the church. It's a church of about 3,000 or 4,000 people. And we're going through I'm just cleaning up my files in here and looking through different folders. And I was putting something back up on the shelf here. And a piece of paper falls out of one of these files. And I go to pick it up, and I put it away, and it had your name on it. And I don't know who you are. But I was putting it back, and I felt God was telling me at that moment, call this man. Call Tom. He needs you to call him right now. She says, so I'm calling you. She goes, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not okay. But it was right as I was praying that God would show me a sign that he cared about me. That's what I was really asking. God, show me that you're my father, because I don't have one right now. I've had 3 dads. None of them right now want to be in my life. That all changed, thankfully. It was a moment in time, a phase, but at that moment I needed to know I had a father, and God showed me in that moment that he's my father. And we talked at length with this woman, but she was encouraging me, seek God, he's your father. And I can tell you, Ken, from that moment on, there has not been a day that has gone by where I have not known without a shadow of a doubt that God is my father. He's walking with me every step of the way. And it's tangible, it's real. I have a relationship with God as my father, as my God, as my Lord. He corrects me when I made mistakes, and I made plenty in my life, but as the years have gone by, he has shown me, I think as any good father would, that he loves me, he forgives me, he's going to hold me accountable, but in a loving way that a strong dad would, a strong man. And what he's taught me is to do the same with my kids. I'm going to intervene into their lives. I care about them deeply, more than they know that I care about them. So I have 2 sons and 2 daughters. There's nothing they can do that would make me not love them. There's a lot they can do that would make me want to discipline them and chastise them as a good father in a loving way, so they'll learn and they'll have an abundant life. And that's what's happened to me. I'm 52 now, and that was when I was 21 years old. And I'm telling you, there's not a day that goes by that my Father in heaven is real. And it's I pray now daily. I have to, because I need him, and he's been faithful to the end. I pray daily. I read my Bible every day, and it's tremendous.
At the end of your life, if you knew it was the end of your life, and you had about 30 seconds to wrap up and explain what the most important things in life to you were, looking back and knowing there's not another day forward, and what you had hoped to have accomplished.
I would say that a lot of things that we think we want, we don't really want. Don't seek those things. And I'm talking about, there's a lot of good things, career stuff, a good car. We don't really want those things. We're bamboozled, I guess is the word, that into thinking that we do. What we really want is a deep, abiding security, strong foundation, and strong hope. And if you seek those things and you're content with that, all these other things, I got a car, I got a house, I got a beautiful wife and kids, I got a job that I'm grateful for. Those things God, my Father, provides me. But what does he want? And why does he want? The most important thing. What does he want? He wants me to have a relationship with him through Jesus Christ. It's exclusive through Jesus. We have this relationship with the God, the maker of the universe. Seek him first in his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you. And that would be the message. This message to my kids. If I had one more thing to say to them, and that was it. Don't lean on your own understandings. Seek the Lord and his righteousness, his kingdom, with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. All these other things will be added unto you. And you'll get things that you never even asked for, that you are blown away, that you receive. And they're really good things. And people will ask you, wow, why are you so different? Not because of anything great thing that I've done, but God's been faithful to me. So I guess that's it. 30 seconds. Seek the Lord. He loves you. He always, starting now. I think I took a minute 45. Can I get 2 minutes on that? Seek the Lord with all your heart through Jesus Christ. He will live inside of you and guide you. And there's no other way.